Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Already we're live, and as you guys can tell by channel, film later today I'm going to be working on more casting in Unreal Engine 5 using C++. That's it. Last stream I did work on Blender where I did make a mesh. I was like almost done with it. I started with like sculpting and sculpted a face and maybe a little bit of the legs and all that stuff, but I did not work much with the arms or with the torso type stuff. That said, this stream I'm going to work on raycasting what I worked on a stream the before yesterday. In that stream, basically what I did with raycasting was that I converted my invisible ray or like added a texture to my invisible ray using the draw helper summons header files, and I kind of gave it a color so I could see which way my ray shoots, and every time I click my and while my right mouse button is being held down, every time I click my left mouse button, I actually shoot a ray, and if it hits something that consists of collision in it, it tells me exactly what it hit type stuff. Although I did not have enough time to master the entire program, so I'm going to be working some more this stream as well. That's let's go to my gameplay screen. There we go. Okay, and guys, this is a chat from yesterday. Wait, is this my Blender chat? What up, guys? Let's go all the way up here. Okay, it doesn't look like my Blender chat. I see the project. This might be the okay. Okay, this might be the Ray one. There. Okay, I will be looking somewhat in the reference while working on this code because I did not really program yesterday because I was working on Blender. That's it. Let me actually go to something like my Visual Studio, real quick and show you guys the project that I did work on. If I were to go ahead and click my mini project here and let's say run the program, let's see what happens. And guys, while I'm actually doing that, I might drink some water. I'm kind of thirsty. Okay, let's wait for the project to get prepared. There we go. Okay, hold up, guys. Let me drink some water. Okay, so if I were to run the program, let's see what happens. Basically, I think it's going to take a while to actually open it. Like, for example, a minute or so, because the first time it always takes long when you first try to compile the code and all that. And if I do sound kind of dead, it's because I did like come from college, so I am quite exhausted. Okay, and guys, this has been, I think that this has become like my excuse like every single day now when I talk slow, besides the weekends. The weekends, like, I have a lot of time. Let's wait for this to open real quick. While it's opening, there we go. Okay, so I got the Unreal Engine now. Let's wait for it to open. Okay, there we go. Let me just try clicking that button real quick so it can open. Okay, it's basically in my other tab. I actually have my task manager. So my Unreal Engine, when it actually loads, it kind of gets hit by my Visual Studio. So I gotta actually click my Unreal Engine to open it up. There we go. Okay, now if I were to go ahead and extend my project here, go to the Untitled project, click Content Drawer, go to something like my new map and double click it. And this is going to open my new map, where if I run the program, this is basically a first person, huh? Okay, wait, I'm pretty sure that I had third person. Okay, let's check if my ray works. Okay, I mean my ray works and all that. There we go. I think I left it to be first person on purpose. So basically what this does is every time I click M, I go ahead and I summon a meat. My meat is, once it's spawned in my Unreal's level, it is stored inside of an array where later on, every time I click backspace, I can go ahead and delete a meat, which basically pops an item out of my array. That said, if I were to spawn a meat here and kind of shoot at the meat using my buttons here, like you guys, like if while I have my right mouse button held or without it being held as well, as long as I shoot in my meat, it says that I have shot my meat. If I hit the floor, my raised color is green, which means I did make contact, and it says I hit the floor. If I miss, my erases color, or like my invisible bullets color, you guys could say laser, it's black and it says missed. That's about it. I'm going to be working more on it. Then later on, I will work with UIs and giving different kind of animations to my arrays, where, for example, I might have a literal bullet, or let's say something like a melee style attack, where if you guys are, or if someone is in a certain range, I can go ahead and attack them. That said, I think I did like way too much talking for now. Okay, that's it. Let me go ahead and grab Claude up here real quick. Let me see something like, say, I'm live, get exclamation. Okay, let's say something like, that said, today I want to work with array again. Actually, with, what was it called? I forgot. I already forgot the concept. Raycasting. I want to work with raycasting again. Okay, So can we get some practice? And should I work on creating a new project or work with the old project? I'm honestly thinking that I might create a new project because I do need to get some more practice with my summoning logic and my storing items in the array logic, if that makes any sense. But working on the exact same project is going to make me kind of rusty. So honestly, let's actually get another project. I'm going to use this project as a reference though. That said, I'm going to go to Unreal Engine, just kind of exit it. And now let's right click and open a new... Actually, let's open a new Unreal Engine. There we go. Okay, let's wait for the Unreal Engine to open. And the project does take a bit longer. That's the reason I left Claude's intro text. I'm going to read that once I actually open Unreal Engine. There we go. Let's go to something like new project, blank. And guys, this is what literally eats up all the space in my PC. Like last time I checked, I had just like out of 525-ish gigabytes, I lost like 495, and I'm like, where's all my space going? Was it 500 something? I forgot honestly. That's it. Let's name it something like Raycast. Okay, let's go with something like Raycast. And then let's go ahead and create a project. While my project is being created, I'm gonna open Claude real quick and read the text. Welcome back, you're live. Great choice working on raycasting again. Repetition shows is how you master a skill. Here's my recommendations. Work on your project. Why? You already have the basic raycasting working. You can build on what you know, less time setting up, more learning. You have spawnable objects, blah blah blah. Today's practice, destroy objects on click. Click on meat, destroy the meat immediately. Add score counter, make your raycasting, do something useful. I want to actually work on those a little bit once I understand how to really get raycasting to work on instincts, if that makes any sense, because I do need some more practice with it. That's I don't know guys, let me mute myself. Already mic testing. Okay, I thought there was some kind of background noises. That said, option 2, click to change color. Click on me, change color. I mean, I will be doing all this, but a bit later on, because for the time being, I want to kind of study my program, if that makes any sense. That said, is this still creating a project for me? There we go. Okay, finally, I was like, how long does it take to create a project? Okay, let's go ahead and grab this here. It is opening my Unreal Engine as well, so that's a good thing. Okay, let's wait for everything to open here. Why does it take so long, to be honest? Or is it just me? Okay, let's just get this all the way down here. There. Now, I'm gonna get Claude here. While Claude is here, I'm just gonna kind of trace this so everyone in my vertical stream can see this as well. Okay, let's extend it from the top as well. There we go. Okay, now the first thing, the most important thing that I would say is that I'm gonna go to File, gonna create a new basic project, because for some reason the project that Unreal Engine gives us by default, which is this basic project as well, but the one that you guys just saw, the Mountain Hill one, that is very laggy to use for some reason. I gotta check why though. Maybe because I don't have a graphics card, my graphics card is like integrated inside of my motherboard. That's it. Once I create a new project, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and create a class. So I'm gonna create a new C++ as character class called something like, what should I name it? So I might go with something like Sharpshooter. Let's go with something like Sharpshooter. There we go. And I do not have weapons. I'm hoping like this Tuesday, early Tuesday, that's going to be coming again when I will be having another Blender stream. I'm actually rooting to make weapons and all that stuff, and maybe if I had time, work on rigging the weapons as well so I can add some kind of animation to them. Because for now, I just be using static meshes. That's kind of annoying, to be honest. That's let's wait for this to add to the project real quick. Okay. And guys, again, if I look kind of dead or like sound kind of dead, that is because I didn't get enough sleep. Plus, I just came from college, so I'm kind of exhausted, honestly. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and reload everything. I'm gonna get my live coding up here as well, so I don't gotta always do this. And let's exit this. There we go. Okay, now basically something I'm going to be doing in my project right now is firstly, I'm going to delete my Unreal Engine's configuration. And next up, I'm going to create a few basic classes. And again, I'm going to be adding character movement. But the reason I do add it again is because I do need some more practice. Although I will be kind of fast with character movement. If you guys want a detailed stream or like a detailed video, which I have not made, I will make a video that is going to be specifically meant for character movement. But if you guys want to see a stream where I explain the character movement specifically, you guys could like go to the stream where the title says character movement. But today's topic is raycasting, so I'm going to kind of speed through this. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and create a class for, let's say, two things. a spring arm component and a camera component, because those are the two things that my player is that I'm going to be using to see from my player's perspective. For example, I'm going to go with something like a U camera component. Okay, ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to go ahead and create another class called something like a U spring arm component. The camera component is in charge of being my player's eyes. The spring arm component is in charge of being my player's neck. So the camera is attached to a camera boom, if that makes any sense. Once I'm done with that, and again, I should like stop saying if that makes any sense. I've been saying this from like so many streams, but then I keep asking you guys if that makes any sense. It literally does. Sometimes. Okay, next up, I'm gonna go ahead and create something like a U input mapping context, okay? And in case you guys don't know what the input mapping context is, it's basically what I'm going to be using to designate what button is in charge of performing what action and in what axis the value that I get after giving those arguments. If it's positive, I move forward or I move towards the right. If it's negative, I move backwards or I move towards the left. So for that, we use the input mapping context. And then next up, I'm going to create another class. This is going to be for my U input action. And basically what the U input action does is that the U input action is in charge of looking what kind of action currently occurred. Is it W that I pressed? Is it A, S, D? Is it right click, left click? You guys get the gist of it. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and create a structure for my F input action value. And we prefix it with F because F does stand for structure, and the input action value is basically, we're going to be using this to get and store whatever value is it that our input mapping context returns, if that makes any sense. That said, again, I said if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Let's go now on to my begin play. This is where I'm going to be creating a bunch of U properties. U properties basically kind of thing that tells Unreal Engine the things that I want to see there. If there's something that I want to edit through my outliner or my details panel, I'm going to set it to be edit anywhere. If I just want to see it and not edit it, I'm going to set it to blueprint read and actually visible only, not edit anywhere. For example, that was really hard to explain. Hold up, let me just show you guys. For example, firstly, I want to go ahead and add my follow camera. Follow camera is basically my camera component. The reason it's named follow camera is because it is going to be following my spring arm component wherever it goes, just like it's stuck or mounted to it. For doing this, I'm going to go with something like a U property where I'm going to add a parenthesis. Now, my U property is going to be requiring 3 parameters. First parameter, visible anywhere, A-N-Y-W-H-E-R-E, there we go. Did I spell visible correct? What up, guys? V-I-S-I-B-L-E-A-N-Y-W-H-E-R-E, there we go. Okay? Yeah, I think this is just my Visual Studio kind of tripping. That's it. Next up, I want my follow camera to be visible anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. I don't want to be able to edit my camera through my blueprint. I just want to be able to see it, or I just want to be able to read it. So I'm going to go with something like blueprint read only. Okay, and lastly, I want to go ahead and organize this under a category called something like camera. Okay, and that's about it. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and let's say get my U camera components as class here, U camera component. Okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer. Did I type the camera component? There. Okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like follow camera. Let's go with something like follow camera. And guys, this is what I mean when I say that it's my Visual Studio kind of tripping. It gives me so many red squibbly lines, but then after a while, everything just disappears. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says something like camera boom. Camera boom is now basically my spring arm component. I'm going to do the same thing. And guys, I'm going to cut most of my explanations here because I want to kind of speed run this and like be done with this a bit faster. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set my camera boom to be visible anywhere. I want my camera boom to be blueprint read only. And lastly, I want my camera boom to be categorized under a category called something like, let's say, camera. Okay, and then once I'm done with this as well, I'm going to go with something like my use spring arm component. Let's go with spring arm component, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like camera boom. Okay, and basically, I don't think that I should explain this part, but then if you guys don't know what a camera boom is, if you guys are like familiar with like the film industries and all that stuff, the big stand that they use above which the camera is actually stuck, that stand is called camera boom. A long, extended, bigger version of a selfie stick. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna, let's say, go ahead and add a few input actions. For example, I might need an action to be able to move. So I'm gonna go with something like move action. Okay, for my move action, I'm gonna firstly go ahead and add a new property, which I want it to be visible anywhere. Let's go with something like, okay, here's the thing. Maybe I do want to edit my move action inside of my details panel because I will be linking my move action with my IA moves as enhance input component, which I did not create right now. So I'm gonna go with something like edit anywhere because I want to be able to edit in my details panel. Okay, and then I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read my move action, not really edit it. Okay, and lastly, I want my category. Let's go with something like category to be equal to input. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's say add a U input action. There we go. Which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like move action. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and end it with a semicolon. That's about it. What else would I need? I want to go ahead and turn my player or rotate my player around as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add another comment. That the comment's a mistake. There we go. This is going to be called something like look action. And this will be in charge of rotating my player in the x-axis depending on where my mouse moves in the x-axis, and rotating my player up and down depending on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. So I'm gonna go with something like a U property. Guys, why is it so hot right now? Where I want my look action to be something like edit anywhere. I want my look action to be blueprint read only. I'm gonna go with something like blueprint read only. Lastly, I want my look actions as category to be equal to something like input. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create another U input action, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like look action. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Okay, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and just get off here real quick and kind of just, let's say on the fan, maybe this up, close that, on that too. That should be good. Okay, I was kind of burning. There we go. Okay, and why do I still see a red scribbly line up here? I see U property, property, edit anywhere. I guess it's just gonna disappear. Next up, I want to go ahead and let's say add a right mouse button action because every time I turn around, I want to click my right mouse button to be able to do so. So I'm gonna go with something like RMB action. There we go. Already mic testing, mic testing. Guys, my PC just crashed for some reason. Hold up, let me actually go ahead and open everything real quick. Okay, it was just like your PC ran into a problem. I was like, okay, worst time to crash, I guess. That's it, howdy canal, so I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, speaking of which, let's go ahead and just grab that down, get that down as well, open my Visual Studio. Oh, I just realized one annoying fact. Recover selected file. I want to recover everything, let's see. Hope it's all recovered. Okay, this is like one annoying thing. Sometimes my PC just crashes completely because I am multitasking very hard here. Probably because I had like two Unreal Engines open as well. Okay, that's it. Let me go ahead and remove my Unreal Engine configurations. There. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and run this and open my Visual Studio too because I do want to get access to my C++ files as well. Although, I mean, I could do it using my details panel. Okay, let's try that. And let me just check if my stream is going good. Wait, is it just me or is my stream blurry? Oh, it is blurry. Wait, hold up. Go to the highest quality. Okay, now mine is not blurry. There we go. Okay. And guys, I think I might have to drink some coffee. I feel like I'm way too sleepy. I tried this coffee yesterday as well and it did not taste good. Is it expired? Okay, it says enjoy by April 2nd, 2026. We're in February, right? Think it's good. Did it always taste that horrible? Okay, I guess let's get Claude up here so I can kind of get the proportions correct. Let's grab this there, get that up from there, and then just get this here. And hopefully I have my... Oh, I do not have my map. Well, that's annoying. I'm gonna go to something like create a basic project, exit that, exit these, and then let's hit Control S to save the code. Fine, I guess I'll save it as a new map, and I hope my classes exist here. Does it? C C++ classes. There we go. I'm gonna double click that. Okay, perfect. Now I have access to my C++ classes and my header files. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and oh my gosh, it's so annoying. Okay, Discord just pops up whenever I open my whenever I like restart my PC. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment here that says something like RMB action. Now this is where we actually crashed. For my RMB action, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new property that which I want to be able to edit anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only, and I want my category. Let's go with something like category to be equal to something like inputs. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to go with the basic U input action again. Let's go with something like U input action, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like RMB action, ending with a semicolon. And I think that's about it. I think that those are the basic things that I would need for adding some kind of flare movement. So I'm going to hit Control S to save the code, go a bit lower, and let's say add something like Boolean check. There we go. This is where I'm going to go ahead and create variables that checks if a certain button has been pressed or not. For example, when how will I know if my right mouse button has been pressed, or how will I know if it has been released? To do something, I'm going to first fix my category spelling. There. Blueprint. Oh, it was my print. Print. There. Okay, so to do so, I'm firstly going to go ahead and create a Boolean variable called something like is RMB pressed. Initially, it's going to be set to false because when I like begin my program, I don't really want my right mouse button to be set to true, so it's going to be set to false. And then I'm going to go ahead and create something like a Boolean wide functions. I don't really know what this means. I just write this because I'm going to be using these functions to either convert my is pressed to be true or false. So I'm gonna go with something like a wide function called something like RMB underscore press. Okay, with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon, and then another wide function called something like RMB underscore released, RELESED, with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna go a bit lower and add a comment that says something like no, not summons, functions. Let's go with something like functions. There. Now, for my functions, I'm going to go ahead and let's say create a void function here for my move. So I'm going to go with something like a void move function, which does require a parameter, or which will be requiring a parameter of my constant f input action value, the class that I created up there. That is going to be requiring the memory address of my values as parameter. And this is what I was actually telling you guys. The f input action values structure that I created here is going to go ahead and either give me a negative value or a positive value. Then later I will be using that negative or positive value to go ahead and do something, which basically means either move my player in a positive direction or negative direction, depending on what value I get. That's the next step. After the move function, I'm going to go with something like a look function. Now my look function is going to be requiring a constant f input actions as parameter as well. So I'm going to go with something like a f input. Hold up guys, there we go. F input action value, which requires the memory address of my values as parameter ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to control S to save the code. Now let's move on to my header files. Actually my C++ files, because I'm done with my header files. In my C++ files, I'm going to go ahead and include libraries that are in charge of these basic general empty classes that I've created here. These classes in my header file are only there because I want to let my compiler know that these things exist even though they're empty for now. because the compiler, it goes through the header files first and then the C++. Header is where all the declaration happens. C++ is where all the definition to those declarations happen. I think I did not phrase that properly, but I think it's good. Okay, let's just kind of exit that. There we go. Now, for starters, for my, let's say, camera, for my camera component, I'm gonna go with something like hashtag include camera slash camera component.h, which is basically my camera components header files. And then I'm gonna go ahead and include, let's say, something like, actually something from my game framework. From my game framework, did I spell it correct? Framework, I want to go ahead and include my spring arm component. So I'm gonna go with something like a spring arm component dot h, spring arm components and header files. I think I spelled something wrong. Hold up, guys. Let's go with something like game framework. There we go. I think that's correct. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and, let's say, include something else as well. I'm gonna go ahead and include, let's say, enhance input components and enhance input subsystems, because I will be needing them. Here's the thing, I prefer including those things when I really want to use them. Where did I mess up my spelling here? Fine. Let's go with IntelliSense. I'm gonna go with something like include something from my game framework. Game framework. There, I mean, it was correct. I'll assume that it's just my Unreal Engine kind of tweaking. I'm gonna go with something like a spring arm component dot h, which is my spring arm components and header files. And now in my constructor, I'm gonna go here, add a comment that says something like camera boom. I'm gonna go ahead and literally construct a camera and a spring arm in my Unreal Engine's level. To do so, I'm gonna go ahead and, let's say, get my camera boom here. This is the pointer that I've created in my header files. I'm gonna set it equal to create default sub object. I want to create a default sub object for my camera boom using this template, which requires a parameter inside of the template of my use spring arm component. Let's go with something like a use spring arm component. Okay, and then I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses to invoke the template. I think that's what we call it. And then I'm going to add a text here. What do I want to call my camera boom inside of my details panel? I want to call it camera boom. I want to call it camera boom. There we go. Okay, and then once I'm done with that, I'm just going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Once I'm done creating a default sub object for my camera boom, I'm going to go ahead and point my camera boom's pointer towards, let's say, something like a target, target arm length. Basically, what a target arm length does is it determines how far I want my camera boom to be from my player. It's like a selfie stick. In this case, I want my camera to be 200.f units away from my player. 1 unit equals to 1 meter. I gotta actually fact check that. Fact check that for me, guys. That's next time I'm gonna go with camera boom that points towards, let's say, something like, guys, I'm not buffering. Hold up, guys. Let me kind of think. Did I forget? Hold up. Okay, what is something my camera might need? It is going to be needing a target arm length. It's going to be needing a default sub object. It's going to be needing a pawn control rotation. So I can go with something like a boolean use. Let's go with something like boolean. Whoops. Let's go with B use pawn control rotation, which is going to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And what is something else that I might need? I know I'm missing one thing here. I have target arm length, I have pawn control rotation. I need a... Okay, so I need a default sub object. I need a target arm length to display something on my window. What is it? I know there was one more. It's right in my mind, but I can't phrase it out. What's wrong? This is one reason why I prefer getting a lot of practice. I mean, it's not like I forgot. For some reason, my brain just goes blank. I can't think these days. Have a camera boom. I have target arm length. I have pawn control rotation. Let me think. Pawn control rotation, target arm length, default sub object. Let's think. There we go. I need a setup attachment. Whew, that was actually it was getting hard to recall. Let's go with something like a camera boom. That is going to be pointing towards a setup attachment. A setup attachment. And why is the setup attachment so crucial? ATDACHMENT. Because the attachment that I will be setting up is going to be my root component, ending with a semicolon. Basically, what this means is that with the help of my root component, I can be able to see myself either turning, moving, or rotating my spring arm component around. Without it, I would not be able to see. That's the reason it was really important. I was like spending a lot of time thinking about it. That's pretty much it. Next up, I'm going to go with something like my follow camera. I'm going to set that equal to something like a create default sub object template. Okay, which requires a parameter of my U camera component. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add it. Excuse me guys, a pair of parentheses that has a text. What do I want to name my sub object? I want to call it follow camera. Okay, then let's end this with semicolon. Next up, I'm going to go with something like follow camera that points towards a setup attachment. I want to go ahead and set up an attachment for my follow camera. I think I spelled it wrong. Let's copy that just to save some time. Now, my setup attachment is going to be camera boom. And then I'm going to go ahead and enter the semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go with something like a follow camera that points towards a boolean check of use pawn control rotation. Pawn control rotation that is going to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. And now that's about it for everything that I might need to add inside of my constructor. Let's include the next header file that I'm going to be required. So I'm going to go ahead and include, let's say something like my enhanced ENHANCD, my enhanced input components subsystem, or an enhanced input subsystem. My bad, guys. Subsystem SYSTEMS. There we go. I'm going to include my enhanced input subsystems as the header files, and under my begin play, I'm going to go ahead and utilize it. For example, I'm going to go with something like there comes the brain blanks again, guys. I'm going to go with an if statement where, actually before if statement, I'm going to go with a player controller, which is going to be represented by a pointer called PC that is going to be equal to the cast_sys template that requires a parameter of my a player controller with a pair of parentheses, which is going to be requiring a parameter of my controller. This cast is used to check that the player controller that I am looking for is it the player controller of my sharpshooters class, or is it of some other class? I only want to utilize it if it is my sharpshooters class. So I'm going to go with a statement here to check if my player controller is not equal to null PTR. That's when I want to do what I'm going to say to do here. Only when it's not equal to null PTR. I'm going to go ahead and start off by doing something. First, I'm going to kind of take a chill back. I'm really exhausted for some reason. Maybe some more coffee. I mean, I guess because I did like have a partial exam today in the class, I had to like sit and write something very, very long. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. That's actually one reason why I streamed like a little later as well. That said, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say add another if statement inside of my if statement. This if statement is going to be in charge of checking if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like subsystem, is equal to, did I spell something wrong? I did. UENHANCED input local player subsystem. There we go. If it is which is going to be represented by a pointer called subsystem, is equal to uLocalPlayer, which uses scope resolution operator to get subsystem. I'm going to go ahead and get subsystem. Okay, now my get subsystem is going to be a template. So I'm going to add a pair of ankle braces where I'm going to be required a parameter of my UN and input local player subsystem. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here, which is going to be having a pair of parentheses here that requires a parameter of, I'm assuming, my player controller, which points towards the get subsystem or get local player. There, let's get this in a new line so it's a bit readable. It's going to be something like get local player. Okay, perfect. This is going to be get local players as function. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Before that, just so it looks a bit cleaner, I'm going to get that there and add a pair of curly braces. Now, if this condition is true, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. What is something that I want to do? I want to go ahead and add a mapping context for myself. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go with something like the add mapping context as function. Okay, and my subsystem, let's go with something like subsystem subsystem. There we go. My subsystem is going to go ahead and point towards the add mapping context as function that requires two parameters, my mapping context and my priority. Speaking of which, I don't really have my mapping context because I didn't create it, so let's create it in the header files. That's where I'm going to use my uinput mapping context as empty class that I created. So maybe I'm gonna go under my Caraboom, gonna add something like a default mapping. For my default mapping, I'm gonna go ahead and create a new property which requires a few parameters. First is gonna be edit anywhere. Second is gonna be blueprint read only. Blueprint read only. Third is gonna be a category. category that is gonna be equal to something like input. There. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let's say add a U input mapping context. Okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like default mapping, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna move on back to my sharpshooters and header files right after I hit control S to save the code and add my default mappings as mapping context here. I'm gonna go with default mapping. The second parameter that I'm going to be requiring is going to be a priority. In this case, it's going to be 0. Now, basically, what the priority actually means is, I'm going to explain it after I'm done fixing my typo. U input mapping context. U input mapping context. Typo. Small mistakes, gotta pay a lot of attention on those things. context. Let's hit Control S to save the code. There we go. Okay, now basically, what my priority means is that basically, I could have multiple ways to move my player around, not just using key controls. For example, while I'm walking on my two legs, I want to go ahead and have my priority 0, where a certain amount of velocity is set. I'm going to move at a constant speed of how much ever speed I set. In this case, it's going to be 600. In the other hand, if I, for example, added logic where I want to go ahead and hit G to enter a vehicle and ride faster in the vehicle, for example, 2000, let's say, units per frame or 2000 frames per second, or that's my speed, then I'm going to go ahead and set that to be priority 0. So walking takes priority before riding takes priority before teleporting. I don't know, something like that. It's like different kinds of transportation requires different priorities if it's going to be done with the same key control. That was a lot to actually say. That said, I'm so exhausted like think about this stuff. Maybe I'm just going to be working on my enhanced inputs here and then I'm going to continue raycasting later because I can just cannot focus much. I'm very exhausted probably because I gotta also study for tomorrow's exam. Okay, that said, once I'm done with this, I think that's pretty much it for my mapping context. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way down here under my begin play. Now let's go ahead and add a comment here that says something like RMB function. I'm going to go ahead and define the function that I've declared in my header files. For example, I'm going to go with something like a void function from my a sharp shooters class. Excuse me guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get a hold of my move function that requires a constant parameter. Before that, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy that there, because I will always need that stuff. Okay, where I'm going to be required a constant parameter of, let's say, f input action value that is going to be requiring the memory address of the values as parameter. And then I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces inside of my pair of curly braces. I just want to nap on this stream. Should I have a napping stream, guys? I was just kidding. I just didn't get enough sleep. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like wait, not move function. This is gonna be RMB function. I mean, who cares? I'll set this to be move function. Now, for my move function, I am going to be requiring the three main components. First is going to be a scale value. Is my move function either negative? I mean, is my scale value either negative or positive? If it's negative, I want to move in a negative direction. If it's positive, I want to move in a positive direction. So I'm gonna add a comment called scale value. SCALE. But I keep there we go. For my scale value, I'm gonna go ahead and use a f vector, vector 2D. And when I say I'm gonna be using an f vector 2D is because I want to store my value somewhere and then utilize that value. The reason I went with f vector 2D and not just f vector is because I only want to move in the x-axis and y-axis for now. I do not want to move in the z-axis because I did not add any flight abilities. If I did so, then this would have just been an f vector. So my f vector 2D is going to be represented by a pointer called something like movement vector. Pointer called movement vector. Pointer called movement vector. That is going to be equal to, I'm going to go with something like the get template. I want to go ahead and get my f vector 2D with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And that's about it. Here's the thing. This is not going to be a pointer. This is going to be a local variable. Get f vector 2D. Get is undefined. This is definitely my Visual Studio. This part is correct. Oh, my bad. It's my fault, not Visual Studios. It's going to be my values as parameter.get. There, now that's about it for my scale value. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is add a comment that says something like world direction. Before world direction, I might go with something like camera rotation. It really doesn't matter where I add it. ROTATION. Basically, what the camera rotation is going to do now, I want to move in the place where my player is facing. Whatever way my camera faces is the way that I'm going to move. Because before, when we used to use legacy inputs, if I would have clicked, let's say something, if I would have looked at the sky while clicking W, I would have like flown up to the sky unless my z-axis is disabled, then I would have stayed in the exact same place. Now I'm going to be moving forward even though I look up because they kind of predict which way is my control rotation. So whichever way I'm facing, I move that way. Guys, I cannot explain today. That's it. To do so, I'm going to go with something. I'm going to use a f rotator, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like rotation. Now my rotation is going to be equal to, let's see, controller, which points towards get control rotation. There. And then I'm going to go with something like another f rotator, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like yaw rotation function. I'm going to go with something like yaw rotation. That is going to be represented by, that is going to be requiring a few parameters. Controller. I can't use controller here. I should be able to use controller. I spelled it wrong. CONTROLLER. This is going to be this is not going to be a pointer. It's going to be a local variable. There we go. That's a local function. Now my yaw rotation function requires a parameter of 0. My rotation ROTATION dot yaw and 0. What this does is it like flattens out my 3D dimension into a 2D dimension because that's what I want to use. A square cube is going to be a plane. Now I can move forward, backwards, left, right. Okay, and then let's finally move on to our world direction. So I'm going to go with something like a world direction. For my world direction, I'm going to go with something like a f vector. And I won't go with f vector 2D because my world direction could be anywhere. It could be up, down, left, right, diagonal, so x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Yeah, pitch roll. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like forward direction. That is gonna be equal to, I'm gonna go ahead and type something like my f rotation matrix, which requires a few parameters. The first parameter that I'm going to be requiring is going to be my, let's say, yaw rotation. Let's go with something like yaw rotation dot the get unit axis. My unit axis is going to be requiring a e-axis. I'm going to go with something like e-axis, which uses a scope resolution operator to point towards my x-axis, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like an f vector. Let's go with f vector, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like right direction this time. That is going to be equal to my f rotation matrix again. That again requires my yaw rotation as a parameter. I'm going to go with yaw rotation dot the get unit axis. I'm going to go with something like unit axis with a pair of parentheses, where my e-axis is going to be y-axis, ending with a semicolon. That's pretty much it for the three most important components that I need to move my player: scale value, camera rotation, and world direction. Now let's go ahead and add another comment here. This comment is going to be in charge of adding my movement input. So I'm going to go ahead and add my movement input using the associated functions. These functions actually add my movement input. They're given to me by Unreal Engine. So I'm going to go with something like add movement inputs as function, which requires two parameters. First is going to be scale value, and second is going to be world direction. Flip that. It's going to be world direction, then scale value, where my world direction is going to be my forward direction. My scale value is going to be my movement vector dot the x-axis, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my movement input again. Let's go with that movement input, which requires a parameter of my right direction this time. Let's go with right direction. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like movement vector, vector dot the y-axis, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now once I'm done with this, that's pretty much it for adding my movement. So this is basically everything that I need to really move my player around. So this is all the content in my move function. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go above my move function and let's say add a comment that says RMB function. This is going to be my right mouse button function, where I'm going to go with something like void a sharpshooter. I'm going to get a hold of my RMB underscore press function. Every time my RMB is being pressed, I want to go ahead and do something. With a bunch of control-Z's. I want to set my boolean variable of is RMB pressed to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with another void function of my RMB underscore released. There, every time my RMB underscore released function is executed, my boolean check of is RMB released is going to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Did I spell it correct? Let's copy that, paste it here. Oh no, why did I copy it? Oh wait, I can't even copy this. There we go. Okay, that was kind of exhausting. You just check if the stream is going good. There we go. Okay, need to kind of make sure that the stream is going good. That stuff. That said, okay, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment here. Let's say something like look function. Let's go ahead and work on my look function now. Now, for my look function, I'm gonna go ahead and create a void function from my sharpshooter, which is gonna be called look. It requires a constant parameter of my f input action value, which requires my values is memory address. Then I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces. In my pair of curly braces, I'm gonna go ahead and get a scale value. Scale value, where it's going to be exactly the same as my move function. I'm going to go with f vector 2D, which is going to be represented by a local variable called look vector this time. That is going to be equal to my values is parameter dot the get template that requires a parameter of my f vector 2D. Guys, the reason I am like rushing is Two reasons. Firstly, I'm way too exhausted. Second reason is I've already explained this like several times, so I feel like I gotta like maybe rush up for those parts because I don't want to like spend too much time doing this. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add an if statement here to check if my boolean variable of is RMB pressed is set to true. If it is set to true, then I want to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm gonna go with something like I'm gonna use the add movement. Let's say your input. Add controller your inputs as function because my mouse is considered a controller. Okay, which requires a parameter of my scale value, which in this case it's going to be look vector dot x-axis, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my controller. Let's go with something like add controller pitch input, where I'm going to be requiring a parameter of my scale value as well, but this time the y-axis, ending with a semicolon. And by all my experience, I realized that this should be negative because I'm going to be looking in the opposite direction as to where I want to look. Okay, this is done. Once I'm done with that, lastly, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go ahead and include something. Okay, the reason I am kind of fretting right now is because I'm way too exhausted. Like, my eyes are actually kind of truncating downwards. I'm like, what, asleep? Let's go with enhanced, enhanced, input, component, dot h, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to include my enhanced input components as header files, and then right here under my bind function, I'm going to add an if statement to check if my u enhanced enhanced input component, which is going to be represented by a local variable called EIC for short, enhanced input component, is going to be equal to cast checked of my u enhanced input component. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here with a pair of parentheses of my player inputs components. Okay, and if you guys do want a video where I explain everything I wrote here in like absolute detail, make sure to check my other streams out, like my previous streams out where I actually worked with player input component. I will try my best to see if I have time and make videos / tutorials on these because I will be needing tutorials eventually as well when I move on and I want to get back for like a refresher. But for the time being, I like hardly have time here. Okay, because after the stream, I'm probably going to study like for my college exam because I got an exam tomorrow. Okay, speaking of which, let's complete this. I'm going to add a comment that says something like bind move action. I want to go ahead and bind my move action here. To do so, I'm going to scroll all the way up here, copy my sharpshooter. I just realized something. It was literally up there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and paste this. Wait, I didn't want to run the program. Set it, go to builds, go to something like cancel builds. Guess it's fine. Okay, so first I'm going to go with enhanced input component that points towards the bind actions as function. I'm going to go ahead and bind a action. Okay, where I'm going to be requiring an action name. In this case, it's going to be called something like move action. I'm going to be requiring a trigger event. I'm going to go with something like a trigger event, which is going to be something like triggered. And then I'm going to go ahead and require an object. It's this object. And then from this class, from the memory address of this class, I want to do what my move function tells me to do. Ending with a semicolon. I'm going to fix my events as spelling, E-V-E-N-T. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and change this to say something like bind move and look action. I want to bind both of them together. I'm going to go with an enhanced input component which points towards, let's say, bind action again. This is going to be something like my look action. And then a E trigger event. Okay, which is going to be something like triggered again. If it has been triggered on this object, I want to do what the memory address of my look function tells me to do. And then I'm going to add another comment called something like bind right mouse button action. I'm going to go ahead and bind my RMB action, where I'm going to go ahead and just maybe copy one of these, might as well, and then paste it here. I'm going to go ahead and set this to be something like RMB action. Okay, where if my RMB action has been started this time on this object, STARTD, start on this object, I want to do what my RMB underscore press function tells me to do. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste this again if it has been completed on this object. If my RMB action has been completed on this object, ACTION, Then I want to do what my RMB underscore release function tells me to do. I think that's about it, right? Look action, move action, RMB action. So I'm gonna hit control S to save the code. Now let's open my Unreal Engine. In my Unreal Engine, I'm gonna go ahead and right click here, go with something like folder. I'm gonna create a folder and name it something like inputs. In my inputs folder, I'm gonna go ahead and double click it, right click up here and add an action input. Let's go with something like action input, where I'm going to be needing a few actions. This is going to be IA underscore move. And again, guys, if I am like kind of rushing the explanation up or like I'm talking really quick right now, it's not because I do not have any intention of actually explaining what I'm doing. It definitely is because I don't have any intention of explaining what I'm doing right now. I'm exhausted. That's tradition. Okay, that's it. After look action, I'm gonna go with something like another action input. This is going to be called something like IA underscore RMB. This is for those people who watch videos with like 2x speed, myself included. I do watch videos in 2x speed at, I think like sometimes most I go with like 1.5 speed and all that stuff. So it might be a kind of a challenge for y'all to see if you guys can actually understand me when I talk really fast. Fact is, I could like rap faster. I don't really rap. By rap, I mean I could talk even faster. Trying to talk a little slower. Okay, let's go ahead and import it all here. Imported everything, apply to all, hit yes. And then let's go ahead and get my chat back up here. Oops, got plot. A mistake. Let's get chat. Let's shrink plot from here. There, now that everything has been imported, it's still importing, seriously. 21 files, 90 files left, 18, 15, 14, 13, 12, 9, 8, 7. Why is it taking so long to import? 5 files left to import. Is my stream lagging because of it? There we go, import done. Finally. Okay, now that the import has been completed, I'm gonna hit Ctrl Alt F11 to compile my code. Let's get live coding up here. I guess there's just a few more steps remaining right now. I wonder how am I gonna study. Oh my gosh, not an error again. Oh, there we go. I'm glad it's an easy fix. Gotta go ahead and add the memory address whoops. I'm gonna go ahead and add the memory address of this, and then I'm gonna need the memory address of my sharpshooter. I'm gonna be adding a memory address. By memory address, I mean address of operator. Now let's hit Ctrl Alt F11 to compile the code. Now I shouldn't be seeing the same exact error. Let's wait for it to say result completed. There we go. It says result succeeded. Everything done. Blah blah blah. Yada yada. Okay, I'm gonna go to content drawer. I'm gonna double click input. I'm gonna go ahead and add a mapping context. There, I'm gonna call this IMC underscore default. Input mapping context underscore default for short. Had a typo. Of course, I'm having typos today. Okay, what were you guys' reaction if I just fell asleep mid-stream right now? Even though it's just 3:55 p.m., I'm like, I want to go ahead and sleep. Let me sleep now. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and add a mapping context here. I'm gonna click the plus icon. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go ahead and add a move action. I'm gonna be adding 4 move actions. This is gonna be for W, that's gonna be for S, that's gonna be for A, that's gonna be for D. W, I want to go ahead and add a modifier of, let's say, Swiss input access value, and then S, I want to add a modifier for my Swiss input access value as well. However, I not just want to move on the y-axis, I want to go ahead and move in a negative y-axis, so negate Swiss input access value. And in case you guys didn't know, the Swiss input access value basically helps me move in the y-axis. That's it. Howdy Pixel, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. If you guys do, if you guys just joined the stream, the reason I am like talking without any energy right now is because I'm very, very sleepy, because I did like have to write something in my college for like hours today, and then I have an exam tomorrow, so I need to work on that as well. That said, I'm gonna go to modifiers. This is gonna be having a negate modifier, and that's pretty much it. Okay, I think that's the right about it. I'm gonna click the plus icon again here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and set this to something like, look, I want to go ahead and look up and down based on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. I mean, fine, left and right based on where it moves in the x-axis. I want to look up and down based on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and set this to IA underscore RMB, which is going to be triggered when my right mouse button has been clicked. So I'm going to go with right mouse button. And that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of extend this from here real quick. Hit Control Alt F11 to compile my code real quick. While it's compiling, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of truncate this up. Click, go to my content. Okay, I guess I'll wait. There we go, it's done. Now I'm gonna go to content. I'm gonna go to C/C++ classes. I'm gonna drag my sharpshooters as class here. You guys see a camera. You guys see a spring arm component. That's all good. I'm gonna hit the add button here and go with something like a static mesh. STA, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and add a static mesh, which is going to be requiring, let's say, something like my common NPC. This is literally what I always use. I want to change it. Let's switch it up. I'm gonna go with something like Lucy. Lisa flows, Lisa body. Nope. What if I go with Lucy? Oh, Lucy, why? I see a cylinder. I see Lisa flows. Should I just add Lisa's flows up here? But it does not look that good. There. That's Lisa body. That's Lisa clothes. This is one thing that's so hard to figure out. Like, I want to import one of my meshes that I made. Let's go with cube. Because I'm pretty sure it was called cube too. Oh my gosh, that's a massive cube. Hold up. Oh, I want to get this back here. Where's my static mesh? Oh, okay, guys, this is the worst time to actually, there we go. Cube, I want to go with the cube. Let's go with cube. Okay, this is like the worst time for me to try to figure this out because finally, there we go. What's it called? It's called cube_001. I might change the name. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab my static mesh and add it inside of my capsule here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit E to rotate it on my pivot point 90 degrees. 70, 90, there. 80 degrees fine as well. I'm going to go with W. I'm going to go ahead and get this forward. Whoops. Get it forward. Let's get it back inside the capsule so it can detect collision. And then I'm going to go ahead and click my follow camera. This is a necessity. I'm just doing it because it looks cooler. I'm going to hit E. Going to move it in the Y-axis. Kind of rotate downwards. Hit W. Let's get myself higher. That's about it. Now, I'm going to type something like input in my details panel. Once I click input for my sharpshooters, I should be seeing a bunch of inputs, but it has to be my instance. This is going to be IMC default. That is going to be move action. That is going to be look action. That is going to be RMB action, right? Right? There. Okay, once I'm done with this, I'm going to go with something like possess. I'm going to set my auto possess player to be player 0, phone player 1, exit this, truncate this backwards. And now hit Control F11. I should be able to move my player bound, hopefully. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. I'm going to run the program. I can, whoa. The reason I rotate very fast is in my IMC defaults, not in IMC defaults. In my content drawer, I gotta go to something like my inputs. And then let's double click I_look. This is gonna be 2D. I made this mistake more times than I can count, so I know exactly how to fix it. From digital boolean, that's gonna be 2D vector. And that's about it. Let's go here. And I just realized one tiny thing as well. When I get my follow camera, I want to get it a bit further back. It's gonna extend this a little. I'm gonna find my follow camera. I want to get it higher. I want to get it backwards. I want to get it a little lower. There. Now if I run the code, let's see what happens. I should be able to move smoothly now. I can rotate around smoothly. My leg is kind of below the floor. Okay, I have to fix my movement as well. There. Oh, I forgot a thing. Whenever I'm walking forward, I walk in the Y-axis. So this is going to be Y-axis to go in the forward direction. X-axis to go in the backwards direction. Y-axis to go in the forwards direction. X-axis to go in the backwards direction. There. By backwards, I meant left and right. So forward backwards is Y-axis. Left and right is X-axis. Why do I have my anti-var? Did I just open Wuthering Waves? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get my capsule higher. Wait, I want to get my static mesh higher. It's going under the floor. There. Okay, now let's kind of truncate this up and hit Control Alt F11 to compile the code. This time everything should work perfectly. Okay, let's see. Okay, wait. I just think I saw someone subscribing. How's the code? Appreciate you for the subscription, man. Okay, let's go at this thing because I usually don't see if anyone like subscribes to my channel because I'm mostly paying attention on my program. But then sometimes when I do actually see it because I have it open on my phone, it's very rare though. Whenever I do see it, it does make me really happy, guys. Okay, where's my mouse? Oh, okay. So wait, did I not compile this? Maybe that's gonna be x-axis, that's gonna be y-axis. Hit Control S. Oh yeah, right direction. There we go. This should work. Let's hit Control Alt F11 to compile the code. Now it should work. Now I should be moving appropriately. Let's run the code. Forwards, backwards, left and right. I can rotate, I can turn, blah blah blah, all that stuff. There we go. Although I did not really show my mouse pointer for the time being, I'm gonna be might as well. I'll show it right now. Like I've already done all this. Might as well. Okay, so to do it, I'm gonna go right under my subsystems here, and maybe below my subsystems, I'm gonna go ahead and find my player controller towards a boolean check of show mouse cursor to be equal to true. I will be able to see my mouse cursor always now. This is going to be really handy later on when I work on the raycasting. Control Alt F11 real quick. Let's wait for this to compile. There we go. I'm gonna run the program, and all of a sudden I can see my mouse pointer. I can move. I can go ahead and rotate myself around. I can go back, front, blah blah. Okay, and all the basic stuff. Very important. I'm gonna save everything. I'm gonna go to content drawer. I'm gonna hit save all. Make sure I save all the bajillion folders that I actually imported here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and exit this, and then exit my Microsoft Visual Studio as well, and then go to my main camera. Alright guys, basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I know I didn't stream for like a relatively lesser time today because I am very sleepy for starters, and secondly I have like an exam tomorrow, so I do gotta study for it. Plus I did mostly exhaust my brain in college while I was actually working on the thing that I had to write. That's it. If you guys do enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like it. My algorithm sure makes you smile. Subscribe, click it, turn top. That said, I did send multi-stream on Twitch, YouTube. I will send multi-stream on TikTok and Instagram as well. So if you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is going to be in the description. And also join my Discord server. That's why I usually talk to you guys, chat with you guys, have general conversation with you guys. If you guys do want to get access to my Discord server or any of my socials in general, make sure to check my bio. That's where I'll have all my socials linked in. It's going to be linked in the description as well. And also, you guys could get access to my social by tapping exclamation socials on chat, not social, socials on chat. And exclamation Discord on chat to get access to my Discord server. That's I'll get you guys next live stream or video. Peace.